Hello there. This is a review of an Extreme Metal Products winch mount. It's a rear winch mount for a Polaris Ranger. In this case it's a Ranger XP 900. This is a 2014 model. I had gotten into a situation where the rear end of the Ranger was on a slippery slope on a trail, and as I tried to carefully move it up, it was continually going down, so I needed something to pull the rear end around so I could back up and safely get out of there. So this required me, unfortunately, to walk back to where I could get a come-along, bring it up there, and bring the rear end over. I didn't have enough front winch length to go around any tree or anything because there weren't any. I was going to try to do that and bring the rear end around, but it just didn't work out. So I don't want to get in that situation again, so I wanted a rear winch. And one of the things I liked about the EMP, or the Extreme Metal Products, one of their photographs showed that the dump bed could dump fully without interfering with the winch, or should I say the winch doesn't interfere with the dumping ability of the rear dump bed, which is important. This product is very heavy duty. It's made of thick, heavy duty, heavy gauge steel. It's indexed, as you can see here, probably cut on a laser, and the welding looks very, very good. It is, however, only a platform. It doesn't have an area to bolt in your fair lead, which for me was very disappointing. Also, the fit isn't quite right, and I'll show you that in just a little bit. So those are the two deficiencies. Understand that if you buy this, you need something, or you need to fabricate something to connect your fair lead to of your winch, unless your winch has a fair lead built into it, which would be great. But the one I was using, the Badlands 2500 ZXR, does not have that. For this winch to mount, these 4 bolts need to be removed and reversed. That is not always that easy because they're surrounded by a bushing with a grease fitting for lubrication on these A-frames. So what I found was, using a pry bar, when I got the bolt out, trying to get it back in from behind, which is not that easy. You could use a pry bar, one of these pry bars, and get that in and just move it around enough so that the bolt could come through. This was a great help. So when you do this, remember, these 4 bolts need to be reversed. When this machine is built, the bolts are put in this way. For this to work, we had to take them out and reverse that. The other thing that is a little concerning was that these 2 holes, you can see a silver cap on them now, had to be drilled out with a 7/16 inch diameter drill bit. That was not a big deal. And then these jack nuts have to be put in here, and they need to expand in place. So what they have is a bolt with a larger diameter nut, and you put the bolt in here, screw it down while holding the nut, and it tightens and compresses and expands the jack nut so that it will hold in place. Let's put this on, and I'll show you the other deficiency that I've noted. The fit is good, by the way, as far as the bolt locations. These are 15mm nuts. So we'll put all these in place, Tighten them down. Should just take a second. This is a nice proto wrench. Really works well. So if the rear, if the bolt were to be spinning, I'd put a box end wrench on the end. But I think these are grabbing pretty well. And I'll tighten the other two off camera. Okay, we're back on camera. I've tightened these 4 bolts holding the winch mount in place. Now you can see, or maybe you can't see, but there's a significant distance here. I first thought when I would tighten these bolts down, and these bolts are a little bit smaller, they're the ones that go into the jack screw. They're 1/4 by 20. Well, this is a very heavy-duty piece of steel. This will not bend, and I'm not going to leave it with a gap. So unfortunately, I have to do something to fill that gap, and I felt the easiest thing would be to put a bolt there, or a nut, which is the right thickness, and then tighten over that, which is what I'll do. So I had to loosen these nuts a little bit to let me install this nut as a spacer for those jack bolts. And I'll do the same thing over here. Or jack nuts, I should say, sorry. These are only 1/4 by 20 bolts, so they're not that strong. So I didn't want to try to horse them down and pull out those bolts. So that's a deficiency. You need to add a spacer there. So we'll tighten all 6 of these bolts down and be right back. Okay, we've got the 6 bolts secured, and that nut in between the winch bracket and the frame works okay. But it's not a great fit, and you know, it's a deficiency that I think needs to be adjusted. Now, there is no mounting bracket for the fair lead. That is so frustrating and disappointing. Here's a $5 fix, I kid you not. You can buy this plate, heavy duty, from Harbor Freight. It's a Badlands mounting plate. It can fit on the winch, and then the fair lead can fit in it. And fortunately, the holes for the winch correspond to the holes here and correspond to the holes in the winch mounting plate from Extreme Metal Products. I thought about cutting this off, welding it on to the bracket, but I'm just going to use some grade 8 bolts, bolt this straight through, and I think it's going to probably be fine. So when I get that completed, we'll come back and I'll show you the finished product. But it's frustrating that there's no fair lead mount on this plate, so keep that in mind. But you can buy this plate for $4.99 from Harbor Freight, and it fits well onto this winch and has many holes, so it's probably fairly universal in most other winches as well. We'll be back. Here we are. Everything's been bolted in place. The grade 6 bolts have been put in. I had to peel some line off. Here they are. Fit through that mounting bracket that's got the place for the fair lead. Now we'll see if we can Get it in position here. Be darned. There you go. Both bolts are through. Now we're going to put flat washer, lock washer, nut. Right, there's one. And again, flat washer, lock washer, and nut. Push the bolt down. Tighten that up. Okay, the winch has been mounted. I used some great grade 8 bolts, very strong, solid. Now we're going to put on the fair lead. I'm going to use some of these bolts with a washer because this is an aluminum fair lead. I don't want to damage it. And on the back, the classic flat lock and nut. I'm probably totally in the way. Okay, there's that one started. Bolt. Flat washer, not much room back there. Lock washer, hopefully the nut. Pretty tight back there. Got it. All right. It's a nice fair lead because it left enough room around the bolt head for the socket. And there it is. It's installed. So, a couple deficiencies, poor fit, no fair lead connection. Other than that, very strong, heavy duty, well indexed, put together, welded, painted. But those are two deficiencies that I think are important to consider. Anyway, that's the review of the Extreme Metal Products rear winch mount for the Polaris Ranger XP900. I think it's going to be good for me, and I'm looking forward to using it in the near future. Thank you for your attention. Here's the winch in operation. I just wanted to share with you how the winch looks and how it doesn't interfere with the dump gate or the dump function of the Ranger. So we'll lower this. The bumper I have does touch the tires, as you can tell. Take a look. There's the winch. It doesn't interfere with this function, which is actually quite good. So again, thank you for watching. Any comments, I'll do my best to answer those as soon as possible. I hope this was helpful. Thank you.